Listen, I need you to understand something before I tell you this story.
Hey.
My name is Vrix, and I am a tactical analyst for the Cormac Dominion.
Hi.
I've studied 347 military campaigns across 17 sectors. I have watched empires fall. I have seen species wiped from existence. I have analyzed every conceivable battle strategy known to civilized space. And I still cannot explain what happened at New Dakota. No, seriously, I cannot explain it. My supervisors think I am hiding something. They think I must be protecting someone or covering up some failure in our intelligence network. But I am not. I am simply telling you what happened, exactly as it happened, and nobody believes me. Which is why I am recording this testimony, for the historical record, so that future generations can look back and say, yes, Vrix tried to warn us about the humans. Vrix tried to tell us they were insane. But did we listen? No. Of course not. Let me start at the beginning. New Dakota was, by every measurable standard, the most pathetic excuse for a colony I had ever seen in my professional career. The humans had established it 6 years prior on a marginally habitable moon, orbiting a gas giant in the outer fringe. Why? Nobody knows. The moon had minimal resources, terrible weather, and was so far from any major trade route that shipping costs made everything absurdly expensive. The colony had approximately 4,000 inhabitants. 4,000. For perspective, my homeworld has 6 billion people in a single city district. These 4,000 humans lived in prefabricated domes, grew their own food in underground hydroponics facilities, and apparently spent most of their free time complaining about the weather and drinking something they called beer. The military presence? 312 individuals. Calling them soldiers would be generous. They were part of something called the Colonial Defense Volunteer Force. Volunteers. Volunteers. Not even professional military, just people who signed up because, and I quote from one of their own recruitment messages, they needed something to do on weekends. Their equipment was outdated by at least 20 standard cycles. Their defensive grid could barely handle a meteor shower. Their combat vehicles were repurposed mining equipment with guns welded onto them. Their command structure appeared to consist primarily of whoever was least drunk at the time. I filed my initial intelligence report with a risk assessment of 0.3%, meaning that this colony posed absolutely no threat to anyone, including themselves. My supervisor did not even read it. He just marked it as irrelevant and moved on. That should have been the end of it. Except Admiral Kross decided he wanted an easy victory. Now, let me tell you about Admiral Kross. Kross was a political appointee, not a real military commander. He had purchased his rank through family connections and spent most of his time attending ceremonies and giving speeches. His actual combat experience consisted of one simulated battle that he lost, and a border patrol mission where nothing happened. But Kross wanted glory. He wanted to be remembered as a conqueror. So when he saw that the humans had established this pathetic little colony in what we considered Cormac territory, he decided it would be the perfect opportunity for his grand military debut. Haldios. What Kross wanted glory, he wanted to be remembered as a conqueror. So when he saw that the humans had established this pathetic little colony in what we considered Cormac territory, he decided it would be the perfect opportunity for his grand military debut. He assembled a strike force, 3 battle cruisers, 2 destroyer escorts, 40 fighter craft, approximately 5,000 trained soldiers, enough firepower to level a major city, let alone some collection of domes on a backwater moon. While was assigned to his flagship as an observer, my job was to document the victory for propaganda purposes, take notes, record footage, write inspiring speeches about Cormac's superiority.
Easy work.
I expected to be home in 3 days. We approached New Dakota with all the subtlety of a meteor impact. Kross did not believe in stealth. He wanted the humans to see us coming. He wanted them to be afraid. He ordered our fleet to broadcast on all frequencies, announcing our arrival and demanding immediate surrender. I was on the bridge when we received their response. The communications officer looked confused, replayed it twice, then finally transmitted it to the main speakers. A human voice. Female. Sounding incredibly bored. Yeah. Hi. This is Captain Maya Bishop of the New Dakota Colonial Defense Force. I am having my morning coffee right now, so if you could maybe come back in like 20 minutes, that would be great. We need time to wake everyone up. Thanks. Then she disconnected. The bridge went silent. Admiral Kross turned the color of Erythian swamp fungus. Someone in the back made a noise that might have been a suppressed laugh but quickly turned it into a cough. Kross started shouting. He ordered an immediate attack. Full bombardment. No mercy. He wanted those domes reduced to rubble within the hour. He was screaming so loud that his translator unit started glitching. I checked the tactical display. Our ships were moving into bombardment positions. Weapon systems were charging. Fighter craft were launching. Everything was proceeding according to standard doctrine. Then something strange happened. The colony activated its defensive grid, those outdated, barely functional shields that could not stop a meteor shower. They powered up to full capacity, and they held. Our initial bombardment hit those shields and just stopped. Completely stopped.
Zero penetration.
Kross demanded an explanation. Our weapons officer checked the readings, rechecked them, then looked like he might be sick. Admiral, those shields are operating at 400% of their rated capacity. That is impossible with their power infrastructure. Then they must have upgraded their systems. Sir, the scans show the same old equipment. They should not be able to generate that much power. Unless what? Unless they diverted power from literally everything else in the colony. Life support, heating, water processing, everything. They have shut down every non-essential system and routed all power to the shields. I leaned forward. That was actually tactically sound, if completely insane. The humans were betting everything on their shields holding long enough to do what? Exactly. They had no offensive capabilities. They could not possibly hold out forever. What was their plan? Kross ordered continued bombardment. Our ships pounded those shields for 6 minutes straight. 6 minutes of constant fire from 3 battle cruisers. The shields flickered, but held. Then they dropped. Just dropped, all at once. Complete shield failure. Kross smiled. Finally, he ordered the next wave targeting the colony's power generation facilities. Destroy their ability to fight back, then send in ground forces to secure the settlement. The weapons officer fired. The shots traveled through space. I watched on the tactical display as they closed in on the primary power station. And then those shots just disappeared. Not deflected, not absorbed, disappeared. Gone. Removed from existence. Every sensor on our ship started screaming alerts. The weapons officer looked at his console like it had personally betrayed him. Sir, we are reading massive energy signatures from the moon's surface. Multiple locations. They are powering up something big. What kind of weapons platforms? Not weapons, sir. Those are mining lasers. Industrial equipment. They have repurposed their entire mining infrastructure. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Oh no. Oh no no no. The humans were not defending their colony. They were turning it into a weapon. Every mining laser, every ore processor, every piece of heavy industrial equipment they owned was now pointed at our fleet. And since they had shut down everything else to power their shields, they now had all that power available for other uses. Kross still did not understand.
He ordered evasive maneuvers.
But he was thinking like they were conventional weapons. Slow. Predictable. The first mining laser fired. It cut through our destroyer escort like it was made of paper. Just carved it in half. The ship exploded in silence, and I watched pieces of it tumble through space. The second laser hit our port battle cruiser, punched through the armor, through 3 decks, and severed the main reactor conduit. The ship went dark. Kross was screaming. Everyone was screaming. We were under attack from mining equipment. Mining equipment. This was not supposed to happen. Then the fighters launched from New Dakota. Except they were not fighters. They were mining shuttles with guns attached. Civilian transport vessels with missile pods. Personal spacecraft that someone had strapped explosives onto. It was the most absurd, improvised, utterly stupid thing I had ever seen. And it worked. It worked because our pilots were trained to fight against other pilots, other fighters, proper military craft. They were not trained to fight against some maniac in a cargo hauler who apparently had a death wish and no concept of proper combat doctrine. One human pilot, I later learned his name was Marcus Trent, literally rammed his shuttle into one of our fighters. Just flew straight into it. Both craft exploded, except Marcus had ejected half a second before impact and was now floating through space in his suit, laughing. I heard the audio recording later. Our remaining battle cruisers tried to retreat, tried to get out of range, but the humans were not done. Oh no. They had one more surprise. The entire colony launched, not the ships. The colony. The actual habitat domes. Twos, they had attached rockets to them. Makeshift, barely functional rockets that never should have worked. And they fired those domes at our ships like projectiles. I watched a residential dome, where people lived, where families had homes, spinning through space on a ballistic trajectory toward our flagship. Kross was frozen, just staring at the display. The dome hit our shields and detonated. Someone had filled it with explosives before launch. The shields failed. The blast knocked out half our systems. We were dead in space. That was when Captain Bishop hailed us again, still sounding bored. So yeah, about that coffee? Finished it.
You guys done yet?
Because we have a lot of cleanup to do and you are kind of in the way. Admiral Kross surrendered. 7 minutes. The entire battle lasted 7 minutes. We limped away with 2 destroyed ships, heavy damage to the flagship and approximately 1,800 casualties. The humans had 43 injuries, mostly from people falling down during the acceleration when they launched the domes. No deaths. Do you understand what I am telling you? The weakest, most pathetic human colony in known space just destroyed a Cormac strike force using mining equipment and improvised explosives. And they were drinking coffee the whole time. When I submitted my report, nobody believed me. They said I was exaggerating. They said humans could not possibly be that insane, that reckless, that utterly without regard for proper military procedure. So I showed them the recordings, all of them. Every sensor log, every audio file, every single piece of evidence. My supervisor watched in silence. Then he looked at me and asked the question that I still cannot answer. Vrix, what kind of species weaponizes their own homes? I do not know, sir. I truly do not know. But I can tell you what I learned, what I want entered into the official record, what I need every species in the Dominion to understand. Humans do not fight like us. They do not follow our rules. They do not care about proper doctrine, or acceptable losses, or strategic objectives. When you threaten them, they will use everything. Not just weapons. Everything. Their tools, their homes, themselves. And they will win. Not because they are stronger or smarter or better equipped, but because they are willing to do things that never occur to anyone else. Things that should not work. Things that violate every principle of civilized warfare. New Dakota rebuilt their colony in 4 months. They named their main dome Kross Hall. As a joke, the humans thought it was funny. Admiral Kross was court-martialed, stripped of his rank and exiled. His family disowned him. His name is now synonymous with failure throughout the Dominion. The name is now synonymous with failure throughout the Dominion. And me? I was promoted, made head of human intelligence analysis. My job is to study them, learn how they think, predict what they will do. I have spent 2 years on this assignment. I have reviewed hundreds of human military engagements. I have studied their history, their culture, their psychology, and I am more terrified of them now than I was after New Dakota. Because New Dakota was not an exception. It was not a fluke. It was just humans being humans. So where was I? Right. Terrified. Let me explain why. After the New Dakota incident, the Cormac High Command decided they needed to understand humans better. They could not have another embarrassing defeat. They could not have their forces humiliated by colonists with repurposed mining equipment. So they created my department, the Human Analysis Division. 12 analysts.
40 support staff.
Unlimited access to intelligence resources. Our mission was simple. Study everything about humanity. Find their weaknesses. Develop strategies to counter their insanity. Make sure New Dakota never happened again. I threw myself into the work. I reviewed every recorded human conflict going back 300 years. I studied their military academies. I read their strategy manuals. I even learned to speak their primary languages without a translator, because I wanted to understand the nuances, the cultural context, the way they thought about warfare. And that was when I realized something that made my scales itch with dread. New Dakota was not impressive because of what the humans did. It was impressive because of what they did not do. They held back. They were gentle with us. Let me show you what I mean. 6 months after New Dakota, I was analyzing a human conflict called the Battle of Tycho Station. This was a civil dispute between 2 human factions over mining rights in the Sol system, their home system. Both sides were human, fighting each other, over rocks, stupid rocks in an asteroid belt. The defending force had 800 people on the station. The attacking force had 12 ships. Standard human military doctrine would suggest a siege, cut off supplies, force surrender. minimize casualties.
Simple.
Except, the defenders did not want to surrender. They wanted to fight. So they turned their station into a fortress. They used emergency bulkheads to create choke points. They vented atmosphere in sections to create vacuum traps. They rigged their reactor to explode if anyone tried to board without authorization. And then they broadcasted a message to the attacking fleet. I have the recording. The commander, a woman named Lieutenant Petra Volkov, said this: "Attention attacking vessels, you want this station? Come take it. But I swear on my grandmother's grave, if you set one foot on this dock, I will vent every section, overload the reactor, and turn this entire station into the biggest fragmentation grenade you have ever seen. We all die. You all die. And the insurance companies get to sort it out. Your move." The attacking commander thought she was bluffing. He sent in boarding teams. Petra waited until they were in the docking bay, sealed the doors behind them, and vented that section to space. 40 people died. Then she sent another message. That was a warning. "Next time I vent the whole station, you have 5 minutes to withdraw." The attacking fleet withdrew. Petra won. She did not have superior firepower. She did not have better training. She just convinced the other side that she was crazy enough to kill everyone, including herself, rather than lose. And here is the thing that kept me awake for weeks after I read that report. The attacking commander was human too. He understood exactly what Petra was threatening. He knew she meant it, because humans do that to each other. Regularly. It is considered normal in their culture. I found another incident. The defense of Firebase Hector on the colony world of New Perth. A human military outpost was surrounded by hostile native forces. The natives had them outnumbered 20-1. The humans had limited ammunition, no reinforcements, and no way to evacuate. Standard military doctrine: surrender, negotiate, preserve lives, wait for rescue. The human commander, Captain Felix Ortega, ordered his troops to dig in and hold the line. For 3 days they fought. When they ran out of bullets, they used knives. When they ran out of knives, they used rocks. When they ran out of rocks, they used their fists and teeth. On the third day, when the native forces finally breached the perimeter, they found Captain Ortega standing alone in the command center. He had been shot 4 times, stabbed twice, and had lost so much blood that he should have been dead. But he was still standing, still holding a broken rifle like a club, still ready to fight. The native commander stopped, just stopped and stared at him. Then, according to the native's own account, the commander said something that translates roughly to, "What kind of creature keeps fighting when it is already dead?" Captain Ortega smiled, blood on his teeth, and said, "The kind that wins." The native forces withdrew. They did not want to fight humans anymore. Too expensive, too much effort, not worth it. Captain Ortega survived, somehow, and was awarded the highest human military honor for valor. I read that report 5 times. I could not comprehend it. In Cormac culture, in most civilized cultures, you fight to achieve an objective. When the objective becomes impossible, you stop fighting. You preserve resources.
You live to fight another day.
That is rational. That is smart. Humans do not do that. Humans will fight past the point of reason, past the point of survival, past the point where fighting accomplishes anything except spite. They will fight because they refuse to stop. Because giving up offends them on some fundamental level that I still do not fully understand. But it gets worse. So much worse. I started looking at human recreation, their entertainment, the things they do for fun, and I realized that humans practice warfare as a hobby. They have entire industries built around simulating combat. Video games where they shoot each other. Sports where they hit each other with sticks. Competitions where they try to hurt each other in controlled environments. They call it fun. Relaxation, stress relief. I watched a recording of something called a rugby match. 30 humans divided into 2 teams, fighting over an egg-shaped ball. No armor, minimal rules. Just people running into each other at full speed, tackling, bleeding, getting back up and doing it again. For entertainment, people pay money to watch this. My assistant, a young analyst named Thork, asked me why humans would voluntarily hurt each other for fun. I did not have an answer. I still do not have an answer. Then I found the really disturbing information. Human children play war games. Their offspring, the ones they are supposed to protect and nurture, they give them toy weapons and let them shoot each other with foam projectiles. They teach them strategy and tactics before they teach them advanced mathematics. They read them stories about battles and heroes and glory and combat. Humans are training their children to be soldiers from the moment they can walk. Not because they are at war. Not because they need to. Because it is part of their culture. Because they think it is important. Because they believe their offspring should know how to fight. Every human is a potential combatant. Every single one. The farmer who grows their food knows how to handle a rifle. The teacher who educates their children has basic tactical training. The doctor who heals their sick can build explosives from medical supplies. It is insane. I compiled all of this information into a comprehensive report, 300 pages, detailed analysis, statistical projections, strategic recommendations. My conclusion was simple and terrifying. Humanity is a species that evolved to fight, not just to defend themselves, to fight for territory, for resources, for pride, for fun, for reasons that make no sense to anyone else. They have built their entire civilization around the concept of conflict. Their technology, their culture, their psychology, everything is optimized for warfare. And the scariest part? They are good at it. Really, really good at it. Not because they have better weapons or superior numbers, but because they never stop adapting. Every time you defeat a human tactic, they invent a new one. Every time you destroy a human weapon, they build two more. Every time you think you understand them, they do something completely unexpected. I presented my report to the Cormac High Command, 12 admirals, the most powerful military leaders in the Dominion. I expected them to take it seriously, to understand the threat, to develop proper countermeasures. They laughed at me. Actually laughed. They said I was being paranoid. They said one defeat does not make a species dangerous. They said humans were still primitives, barely space capable, with limited resources and fractured leadership, nothing to worry about. Only one admiral did not laugh. Admiral Shen, the oldest and most experienced officer in the fleet. She had fought in the Rithian Wars. She had seen entire planets burn. She understood real danger when she saw it. After the meeting, she pulled me aside and asked me one question. Vrix, in all your research, did you find any record of humans ever actually losing a war? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Humans had lost battles. They had lost campaigns. Individual human nations had surrendered or been defeated. But humanity as a species? As a unified whole? No. They had never lost. Ever, in their entire recorded history, humans had fought everyone. Other humans, hostile aliens, their own environment, disease, nature itself. And they had won. Every single time. Not because they were unbeatable, but because they refused to accept defeat. I told Admiral Shen this. She nodded slowly. Then I suggest you prepare your next report very carefully, because the High Command is about to make a very stupid decision, and when it goes wrong, they will need someone to blame. She was right. 3 weeks later, the High Command authorized Operation Cleanser, a full-scale military campaign against human space, 12 battle fleets, 80,000 soldiers, enough firepower to conquer a dozen systems. Their objective? Remove humanity from what the Dominion considered our territory, push them back to their home system, teach them their place in the galactic order, show them that the new Dakota incident was a fluke, and real military power would crush them easily. I tried to warn them. I filed objection after objection. I showed them the data, the analysis, the projections. I begged them to reconsider, to at least negotiate first, to try diplomacy before military action. They ignored me. Every admiral except Shen voted to proceed. The operation launched with great ceremony, speeches about Cormac's superiority, promises of swift victory, propaganda broadcasts showing our mighty fleet departing for battle. That was 4 months ago. The first fleet encountered human defenses at the colony of New Arizona. The humans had built a defensive network of satellites and automated weapons platforms, crude by Cormac standards, easy to destroy with proper tactics. Except the satellites were not just satellites. They were old spacecraft, stripped down, filled with explosives, and programmed to ram anything that got close. Kamikaze drones. Hundreds of them. They swarmed our ships like insects, exploding on contact, overwhelming point defense systems through sheer numbers. The second fleet tried to avoid the satellites by using stealth technology. The humans detected them anyway, using something called quantum entanglement sensors. I still do not understand how it works. Our scientists are still arguing about whether it is even possible, but it worked. The human ships knew exactly where our fleet was at all times. The Third Fleet tried overwhelming force, massive bombardment, destroy everything from long range. The humans had prepared for that too. They had built their colonies underground, deep underground, deep underground, deep underground. Our bombardment just made craters on the surface, while the humans sat safe in their bunkers, waiting for us to waste ammunition. Then the humans counterattacked. They did not send battle fleets. They sent everything: military ships, civilian vessels, converted cargo haulers, mining equipment, personal yachts with guns attached. An armada of mismatched, improvised, utterly ridiculous spacecraft that had no business being in a military engagement. And they won. They won because our forces were trained to fight proper fleets with proper tactics. They did not know how to handle thousands of individual pilots all doing their own thing, ignoring orders, making decisions based on instinct rather than doctrine. I heard a recording from one of our ship commanders. He sounded so confused, so frustrated. He kept saying, "They are not following any formation. They are not using standard tactics. How do I fight them when they will not fight properly?" He never figured it out. His ship was destroyed by a human civilian who flew a cargo hauler into the reactor core. The civilian survived, ejected before impact, was picked up by another human ship and went back into the fight an hour later in a different vessel. As I record this testimony, 9 of our 12 fleets have been destroyed or forced to retreat. Thousands of our soldiers are dead. Dozens of our ships are gone, and the humans have suffered minimal casualties, not because they are better equipped, not because they outnumber us, but because they fight like demons and refuse to die. The High Command is calling for my head. They want to blame someone for this disaster. They are saying my intelligence was faulty, that I misled them, that this is somehow my fault. But Admiral Shen has protected me. She has taken over military operations and ordered a complete withdrawal from human space. She is negotiating a ceasefire, offering reparations, trying to end this before humanity decides to take revenge. Because that is what terrifies me most. Everything humans have done so far, that was defense. That was them protecting their homes. They have not attacked us yet. They have not invaded our territory. They have not tried to conquer us. But they could. They could. And after we started this war, after we killed their people and destroyed their colonies, I do not think they will stop at just defending themselves. Humans hold grudges. I have seen it in their history. They remember who hurt them. They remember for generations, and they always eventually settle the score. My final recommendation to the Cormac High Command is simple. Make peace with humanity. Give them whatever they want. Apologize, offer tribute. Do whatever it takes to end this conflict and ensure they never have a reason to visit our worlds with hostile intent. Because if humans ever decide to come for us, if they ever stop defending and start attacking, we will lose. Not maybe, not possibly. We will lose. Labchen. Oh-lutely. 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 And that is not speculation. That is not paranoia. That is mathematical certainty based on 2 years of intensive study of the most terrifying species I have ever encountered. Humans do not just fight to win. They fight because they love it. It is in their blood, their culture, their very nature. And you cannot defeat something that loves war more than it fears death. Monogam. Vrix. Tactical Analyst for the Cormac Dominion, Head of Human Intelligence Analysis. This is my final report on humanity. Read it, believe it, learn from our mistakes. And whatever you do, never, ever attack a human colony. Not even the weak ones. Especially not the weak ones. Because they are all insane. Every last one of them. And they will make you regret it.